Man, I keep forgetting to turn the mic on and get all the way through a video, and oops, there's no sound. So let's try this again. Anyway, I wanted to talk today about Ezra Levant, rebel media, and the Notley government in Alberta a little bit. And once again, as I often do in many of these videos, I want to preempt this by saying I don't want to come across as completely informative because I'm generally talking about ideas rather than specifics. This is not an information channel on any one thing. It's more of spreading an idea on improving the quality of our lives and how events that are happening in our world can be lessons for us, essentially, if that makes any sense. So basically, my understanding of this story is link in the description if you want to watch Ezra Levant's video about the harassment he's getting from the Notley government, specifically from a particular commissioner by the name of, but basically some kind of a thug who keeps sending these threatening letters that he's, which are complete falsehoods, that he's a political party or something like that, and he's got to get licenses and blah blah blah, and therefore he's got fines of tens of thousands or $100,000 or whatever, and basically this is all weaponizing of a legal system to defend a government against ideas and comments and information and journalism and so on that they don't like, right? The Notley government is a far left government and has done a hell of a taken a wrecking ball to the Alberta economy to a great extent. And Levant is pointing this out. I mean, he's a right of center reporter, so obviously whatever he says, the leftist government is not going to like. So, like, you know, first class leftists, and rather than engage in the debate, they use every tactic in the book to smear, to slander, and outright threaten their opposition because they got nothing to respond with other than with threats. I mean, they're bullied all their life, so that's all they know probably. But nevertheless, um, I think there's a case to be polite, but at a certain point, I don't know. I think politeness can kind of run out. I mean, the left is not going to stop, right? This has been ramping up and ramping up. I mean, what we used to think was crazy 10 years ago is completely mild today. I mean, you know, there's something new every day. And of course, this is having an independent journalist, a citizen journalist or whatever, is something very, very new also to the world. I mean, think about it back in the day, not that long ago. But especially several hundred years ago when you had the churches working with government and so on, and nobody, the average cut of the mill, everyday people who were doing the work, they didn't really know what the hell was going on, because there was no opposition sort of journalist. Whereas today things can get deconstructed in real time. People can get embedded into certain organizations and actually audio tape and videotape these people what they really mean when they're not behind a camera, when they think they're in private, how they really talk. And they can be caught in lies. And Notley has been caught in lies. Rebel Media points it out. And they get, like, immediately the next day, they get threatening letters from this, this thug who's in there to silence these people, like Ezra Levant. Now, of course, the tactic generally works. The tactic goes like this. Send them out all kinds of threatening letters and say, okay, you can show up to court and defend yourself and what have you. But that costs, right? And Levant talked about the last time he was attacked, it cost him like $35,000 or whatever. That's a lot of money. The government, that's nothing for the government, right? Because they just have this unlimited money printing system, and they don't have to. Notley doesn't have to pay it out of her pocket. This thug doesn't have to pay. No matter how bad they are, they still get paid. Not only do they still get paid, they get a pension, which actually shouldn't exist. But of course, that's for another story. But the polite thing to do, of course, here for Levant and these guys is to show up to court and hire their lawyer and follow the rules and blah 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 and all that stuff and defend themselves. My question, Levant, is what the hell do you have to defend? Look, there's an old saying in legal maxim, as far as I know, which is basically like this: he who's making the claim bears the burden of proof. I remember years ago when I didn't know shit about this stuff. I was called into court for some silly thing one time, and there was a label in front of me, defendant, right? I didn't make a claim. If I had known what I know now, I would have, hang on a second here. What do I have to defend? Who bears the burden of proof here? Who's making the claim? That guy. That guy over there is making the claim. He's got to defend himself, right? And that's what we have to start saying. No, if you're going to claim that I am something, you better damn well be able to prove it yourself. I don't have to defend anything, right? Matter of fact, take it a step farther. I think some of these times we're going to have to start standing up when these basically junk mail from these thugs come. Send it back with a little note, F off. Like, I hate to say it that clearly. Of course, what's going to happen when that happens is that whenever you piss off a psychopath, a mentally deranged psychopath, which is what these people are in government very often, is they'll send the real thugs with guns after you, put you in ankle shackles and handcuffs, and drag your ass into the court. But at least then, it's very hard for them to make the claim that now you're under their jurisdiction, isn't it? Yeah, if you walk in there voluntarily with a suit and, your honor and my grace and whatever, what do they call them here? My lord. Yeah, my lord. No way, man. Like, if you say all that stuff, well, they just assume, okay, you're subject to this. You're under my jurisdiction. But if your ass is dragged in there with ankle shackles and handcuffs and stuff like that, it's pretty hard for them to make the claim that they have jurisdiction over you. So just bear that in mind. And also, at a certain point, we have to make the decision: are we in, or are we all in, or are we not? I learned a lesson about this. Which way do I go here? This walk that I did. Why can't I point in the right direction here? There. Everything's reversed, double reverse. When I did this walk a couple of years ago, Freedom Walk, one of the things I realized, in order to walk 8,000 kilometers through, self-sustained, basically, backpack, and in 6 months, is one of the things I had to do is I had to commit that I'm all in, man. I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and walk till 10 o'clock at night, get in my tent, and do it again, day after day after day after day, rain, shine, whatever. And I was sometimes in the middle of nowhere, no cell service, in the woods maybe, with a large animal snorting and stamping at me outside my tent. Like, I resigned to die. I mean, it might sound crazy because it doesn't sound like a very good reason to die, but I said I was going to do this and I was committed to it. Well, at a certain point, we have to stand up, and we realize the forces they have. But when enough of us stand up, I'm not saying stand up in terms of a violent defense of ourselves, but as kind of a peaceful non-cooperation. I'm not participating anymore. I'm not participating where I used to maybe trust a legal system that's supposed to be there, at least ostensibly, to protect us, is being used against us. It's no longer legitimate and deserves absolutely no respect from me anymore. And this is the thing you got to maybe consider, Levant. Of course, the problem is that the reason people don't do these things very often is they realize there's going to be a complete dismantling of whatever organization you have, whatever company you have, whatever. They're just going to completely fucking destroy it. So maybe the solution there is to not have a whole lot of exposure, be incredibly stealthy, and basically have nothing to lose. Was it Chris Christopherson once said, freedom is another word for nothing left to lose. And that's when, if they push us too far, like a lot of these leftists, they talk about, there's all these extremists here and extremists there. Well, you want to see extremists? Keep on doing what you're doing. You're going to get extremists. You're making the extremists. Absolutely. Because as long as you keep cutting off people's ability to speak freely, and you can't say this, and you can't say this, and you can't, it doesn't mean they're not going to say it, but they're going to go underground, and that's the making of extremists. You want to have people get along? Have everything out in the open, right? Free speech. If somebody's saying something that's completely stupid, if Ezra Levant is saying something completely stupid, let him say it. Let him bury his own friggin' axe. Let him bury his own coffin. But you know what? You know that what he's saying is not stupid. That's why you're going after him so hard. You know that what he's saying, to some extent, is the truth, very often in these cases. and you're scared shitless of it. And so you react in the only way you can. You have no arguments. So you have to respond with thugs. And if that thug doesn't work, you ramp it up to a thug with a gun who comes over and puts the guy in shackles and drags him off somewhere. That's what you do. And if that doesn't work, the history is replete with examples of what the left eventually does. They fill ditches with people. That's what they do best at the end of the day. We have to know this. And there's a time to be polite. And I'm all about being polite and about collecting our thoughts and responding, in a reasonable way and so on. But at a certain point, when people prove over and over and over again that they're not playing by any sense of polite, courteous, civilized way themselves, it's like at a certain point we got to ask ourselves the question, man, when are we just gonna be blunt? When are we gonna start playing nice? Because as long as we keep playing nice, they got us in their palms. Because believe you me, they ain't playing nice. They ain't playing by the rules we're playing by. So we have to remember that. And this is only going to get worse if we keep on rolling over. So, some thoughts on that anyways. Steve here again, great chatting. Talk again soon. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. And my goodness, if you got a message along this lines, put it out there. The more of us that are there, I'll get a few views on this. But hey, there's thousands of us getting a few views each. That's thousands of views. That's how we change the world. One person at a time. Talk again soon. Bye for now.